In today's video, I'm going to go over 4 different tokens that will either do a 10x, go to 0, or both. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and as a disclaimer, these are degen tokens, and as always, time will tell. We'll see what happens. If you guys are following me on Twitter, you would have seen the 4 picks I'm talking about. The first one is SLIZ, Solid Lizard Finance. First, let's go over what Solid Lizard is. It's a VE33 fork on Arbitrum. And I tweeted about this and made a thread on February 8th explaining what they were doing. If you look at the statistics on the protocol, it's actually nuts and ham. The TVL on Solid Lizard is steadily going up. This was a stealth launch and it is on Arbitrum. And what's interesting about Solid Lizard over several of the other VE33 forks is that they have a protocol-owned liquidity module. So what makes SLIZ different than several of the other solidly forks is that they have a protocol-owned liquidity as well as a burning mechanism for the token itself. This means that they are going out there with some of the revenue generated with the protocol. In general, for this, it's 50% of all the swap fees to go and buy the SLIZ token and burn it and also lock LPs. So it's doing 2 different things. So this does 2 different things. First, this decreases the circulating supply, which is bullish for the token. And second, it creates deeper liquidity for the token, which decreases slippage over time. So if you see this on like Dex Screener or on CoinGecko, the actual circulating market cap is incorrect. It's actually about 1.8 million. Whereas on CoinGecko and Dex Screener, you'll see about 4 to 5 million, depending on when you see this. So also, as you can see here, most of the SLIZ tokens are locked. As you can see, most of them are being locked over time. You can also see in this chart as well, the blue is the locked portion. The red is, well, the circulating tokens. So currently on Solid Lizard, you can see here some of the pools are paying nuts and ham, with stablecoins getting about 23 to 57%, depending on how much of the SLIZ token you have staked and locked. And you also have other pools like Bitcoin and ETH paying between 47 to 119%. So how this would work is if you were just depositing into these pools without any SLIZ tokens, you would get the minimum APR. However, if you come over and vest your SLIZ tokens, it will give you a VE NFT. This NFT can be placed on any of the LP pools that you have deposited. And depending on the amount of tokens you have staked, this will increase your APRs to the top range. So depending on the liquidity you have deposited into the pool, you would have to have a certain amount of SLIZ staked. I staked about 1,000 for you just to show you an example. But as you can see here, if I toggle this ratio to a certain level, it'll say, hey, in order for me to get the maximum 4,000% APR or 4,100, I would need to have a voting power of 31,180 SLIZ tokens. So that means I would basically have to go out on the market or to the open market and buy about 31,000 SLIZ tokens, which will create buy pressure on the token. You guys get the little flywheel. Well, let's do a recap on the flywheel for SLIZ. First, you have people looking to get these different APRs in these pools, which is paid in the SLIZ token. So you solve the first issue, which is getting liquidity. The second issue is keeping the SLIZ token propped up in price, or at least helping the price stay up to keep these APRs sustained. The price is able to be propped up because you have stakers who are staking in there to boost their yields. That's the first buy pressure demand. Second is to get the APRs from the swap fees. So the swap fees on Solid Liz, if you're unfamiliar how the Solidly token model works, the swap fees actually go to the stakers. So 50% of those swap fees will go to the stakers, and the other 50% will go to buy back and burn the SLIZ token, as well as create deeper liquidity pools. And the other revenue stream you have for SLIZ, which is increasing people to buy the SLIZ token and stake it, is from bribes from different protocols. If you come over and look at the voting module, you can see here there's different protocols that are bribing. And in general, one of the main ones that is bribing is FBomb. Now, in general, for SLIZ, there are actually 2 protocols currently bribing. The first is FBomb and L2DAO. And Sliz also is incentivizing some of those bribes as a bootstrapping phase for the protocol because it's in its early stages. But as time goes on and it's starting to get this flywheel going, and you can kind of see it price action wise, it's been climbing from about 2 cents, or actually less than that, and it's holding up pretty well. Now, this could crash tomorrow. This could crash while you guys are watching it. As always, time will tell. We'll see what happens. But in my opinion, I think this is one of those protocols that will either do a 10x, go to 0, or both. So either way, if you do get a 2x, 3x, etc., make sure you take profits. And once you take profits, do whatever you want with the house's money. I don't care. Potentially, this could pull a Equalizer finance. If you guys are unfamiliar with Equalizer, this thing came from about 4 cents. And it's about $14.31 within a matter of 2 months. So I'll put this thread in the YouTube description below so you guys can read into it and learn more about Sliz. But this is where I want to get into the second protocol. The second protocol is FBomb. Now, this is pretty sweet, in my opinion, what they are looking to do. FBomb is under the MCLB protocol. MCLB is basically Millennium DAO, which is basically a protocol that's trying to be a convex for several of these Solidly tokens. And as you can see here, they've accumulated some of Velodrome, Equalizer, Thena, as well as the Sliz token. What they're doing with this voting power is they're directing emissions their way in order to increase the APRs. The reason they're increasing the APRs is to incentivize liquidity, as well as incentivize other traders to swap with their token. Now you're asking yourself, why in the world are they just bribing to incentivize people and incentivize volume for their token? Well, you have to go into the tokenomics of FBomb to understand what they're doing. So I made this little infographic to explain it a little bit. There's a 1% fee on all transactions. So if people are selling the rewards from bribes, there's a 1% fee. This 1% fee goes to burn the FBomb token and depleting it from the supply. So it's a deflationary token. 1% to buy bribes for voters, 1% to buy and put in an LP, 1% to simply just buy the token and stake, and then you have 2% on bridges. So the FBomb token is multi-chain. So it's on Optimism, it's on Arbitrum, it's on Phantom, it's on multiple chains. And as you can see here, the FBomb supply has been constantly burning. They've already burned over 676 million FBomb tokens. And they've actually been doing extremely well accumulating a lot of these governance tokens. If you look at Velodrome, the #1 DEX on Optimism, and the top 10 DEXs in DeFi in general, Millennium Club has over 2% of the Velo supply. To put this into perspective, in general, as a DAO, this is the most for a DAO on Velodrome. This is extremely powerful because they're able to direct emissions into their pool to incentivize deeper liquidity, which then incentivizes more traders and also increases the token burns, which decreases the supply and increases the price. The reason the price increases because you now have deflationary tokenomics, and it's just a simple equation of supply and demand. And just taking a look at the progress to see how they're doing with their voting APRs, you can see here FBomb is one of the highest paid yields on Sliz. And that's because of the voting power that they have. Also, if you go on Velodrome, you can see FBomb is also one of the top pools, paying out 254% here and 198%. Literally, it's at the top of the pool. So they have voting power as well as additional bribes. They're incentivized to keep bribing people and paying out for that because they're earning more in the revenue from the swap fees and the 1% burn. Also, if you go on Equalizer Exchange, you can see FBomb is also in one of the top pools. With FBomb, you have WrapBomb, you have several of the different bomb ecosystem tokens that are ranking high in the APRs. The reason for this is because of the bribes and the voting power they have amassed with the governance tokens. So the goal of this protocol is to drive volumes for their token to constantly burn the FBomb token, which is causing a price action that looks something like this, steadily trending up because more and more of the tokens are being burned. As always, time will tell. We'll see what happens. This is Degen and this is Risky. You guys can check out the full thread that I made on Twitter if you guys want to check it out and break down and understand FBomb and what they're looking to do. Now, it doesn't end there. There is another Phantom Gen. This is the third one. This is Morpheus Swap. So Morpheus Swap Finance, this one used to be called Pills. Pills was the token. It was just a degen yield farm, and it actually did extremely well back in the previous bull run. But what's interesting about Morpheus is that they are migrating to a GMX. Fork. Now, first off, you're like, wait, we already have like 100 forks. Why are we going to get this one? Why is this one any different? Well, Morpheus is actually merging a bunch of different features of several protocols into a single DEX. So you're going to have delta neutral MLP vaults, which is basically like GLP on GMX. You have an integrated swap and a bridge. You have an options market, which most of the GMX forks have not even done. Even the one on Phantom, which is Mummy Finance. And Mummy Finance has been doing extremely well. Mummy Finance literally came from, I don't know, it was like 10 cents to over $7. And as always, time will tell. We'll see what happens. Andre Cronje is actually accumulating some of this Mummy token. But in general, for Mummy Finance, the stats actually look extremely good. So if you check out the app and see the protocol and see the volumes that the protocol is doing, you can see it's steadily up only. What you want to look for with these GMXs is just a quick tip. The GMX forks, you want to look and see margin trading being one of the highest revenue shares. And that was similar to GMX. There will be several other forks, or there are several forks out there where most of them come from swaps. Be aware of those. GMX is a perpetual exchange, and most of the revenue should be coming from margin trading, not from swaps. Margin trading is the business it's getting at. So something to keep in mind with that. But back to Morpheus Swap. They're integrating a options market as well as voting for separate MLP pools. So there are going to be multiple features involved with this, creating this DeFi flywheel inside of the Morpheus token. So this protocol is in the early stages and the token is going through a migration phase right now. So this is still more of a speculation, but it is a lower market cap coin and it does have a lot of features involved with the GMX that separates itself from several of the other forks, and the dev team has been proven. You guys can actually check out the Morphex white paper to understand what these guys are doing. But the TLDR is they're trying to create a GMX fork, and I'm bullish on the team. I like what they're doing, and I do believe they are capable of achieving something like this. You can listen to one of the AMAs they had in Discord. I'll leave a link in the description below. Now this leads me into the fourth and final token. This is Oath. This is basically Beavis's token, or Justin Beavis over at Byte Masons. So basically these guys are trying to create a all-in-one DeFi flywheel package that brings value and revenue all back to the Oath token. One of the best ways to look at the Oath ecosystem is to look at what they have. They first have Moon. Moon is basically a onboarding and on-ramping experience for people to come in and understand bridging Web 2 with Web 3. You have Granary Finance, which is basically a fork of Compound, but what they're doing that's interesting with their lending protocol is on the V2 model of Granary Finance, it's going to be able to generate the highest yields and will also have under-collateralized loans in the future. Then I have Reliquary, which is a convex-like protocol that is looking to accumulate several of the governance tokens and be a governance optimizer. And then you have Ethos Reserve. This is similar to MakerDAO, but it has a couple of features that are different. Ethos Reserve is basically going to take the idle capital that is deposited into these CDP vaults, and it's going to put that in different yield-bearing strategies, which will generate revenue for the protocol, which leads to the final piece of the puzzle, which is Reaper. Reaper is basically similar to Beefy Finance or Auto Farm or Yearn Finance. It basically just auto compounds the yields for you, and a percentage of the fees go to the protocol, which in this case, it's going to go to the Oath token. So to kind of see the flywheel of Ethos Reserve, you can look at this little flywheel they have created. But you can see here tokens go into Ethos Reserve, and then the ETH, Bitcoin, or whatever is deposited in there as collateral is deposited into different strategies, which the profits from that strategy then goes to buy the Oath token, which goes to the Oath stakers, which you then constantly have this flywheel where a portion of the fees actually go to Oath stakers as well. Kind of gives a better breakdown of the revenue that it can drive to Oath stakers. This is from Ethos Reserve. So there's 0% interest rates on Ethos Reserve. However, there is a issuance and a redemption fee. So in opening and closing with the token, that's given back to the Oath stakers. People are incentivized to get the ERN token because they can then take this stablecoin and deposit it into the stability pool. This pool is getting a yield from the farming strategies that are deployed with the collateral that's deposited. So to help understand what they're doing better, let's say, for example, I'm looking to deposit into Ethos. I got some Bitcoin and I want to borrow some stable coins against it. What I would do is I'd deposit my Bitcoin. I would get some of the ERN token, which is their stable coin, and then I can deposit it into their stability pool, or I can use my stable coin elsewhere in DeFi. It's my choice, whatever I want to do. If I deposit into the stability pool, the yield is coming from the strategy from my asset I deposited. So that Bitcoin that I deposited or any of the other assets that are deposited into that pool are being deployed onto different strategies using Reaper Farm, and they also have Pain Finance. This is under the Oath ecosystem. A percentage of those farming rewards are going to the stability pool, and another percentage of that, of the revenue, is going to the Oath stakers. So this generates revenue and increases APRs for Oath stakers, which incentivizes people to get the Oath token. And ERN stakers are also incentivized to deposit in order to get a high yield on a stablecoin. So you have this flywheel that is constantly spinning, with Oath being the center of all of it. So Reaper Farm, which is basically the yield optimizer. You have Ethos Reserve, which is a stablecoin issuer, similar to like MakerDAO. You then have Granary Finance, which is a borrowing and lending protocol that's able to get the best yields and eventually will have under collateralized loans in the future. You then have Reliquary, which is basically a convex-like protocol, which is able to vote on all these different pools with the governance power it owns to boost yields and create different flywheels and again, drive revenue to the protocol. Oath is receiving all these different benefits. So I know that was long-winded and I know that was a lot of information, but again, it's trying to create a DeFi powerhouse similar to something like Frax Finance that we have seen. So these are the 4 picks that I threw on Twitter. These are degen, and I just consider these low-cap digidarts. They will either do multiple X's, they will go to 0, or do both. So the first one is Solid Blizzard, Sliz, which is a solidly fork on Arbitrum. The second is FBomb. The third is MPX, which is a GMX fork on Phantom. And the fourth is Oath. This is a revenue black hole with its all-in-one DeFi hub. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoy videos like this and content like this, you guys can join the Discord and stay up to date in the markets. I share a lot more information on there and some of the degen plays like Sliz, FBomb, MPX, Oath before I even share them on YouTube, as well as other plays that I don't even share on YouTube because they're lower market cap and they are more risky. But as always, you can check out the Discord and the link in the description below. Let's go ahead and hit you guys with a Wisdom 1-liner. First chapter 10 verses 9. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever takes a crooked path will be found out. Be good, be righteous, peace.